Welcome into It's Just the Show. I'm your host, Jay Stone, and with me, as always, is Cory Champney.
Hey.
And we're here today to talk about some sports facts and
Dem dogs.
Dem dogs. All right, how about dem dogs? We're going to talk a little bit about everything that's on the ring of our logo today. Just brush over some things, if not dive deep into in-depth analysis. So just to start off with some things that have gone on to the offseason, the Boston Red Sox and the Atlanta Braves. I haven't heard any news about the Red Sox making a bunch of power moves, so that's going to be Cory's thing. Also Cory's thing. The Atlanta Braves traded one of my favorite players, Travis d'Arnaud, and I'm not okay.
They released him. They didn't trade him. And then he signed.
Might as well have.
And then he signed with the Angels. But you know what? He's a 35-year-old catcher who gets injured a lot. I know that he's a locker room presence, but you can't – if you're going to have a locker room presence that's like that, you might as well just have him as a coach.
But he's got a thunder stick. Like that bat, man. How many walk-off game winners did he have this year? Probably more than anybody else on the team.
That is true. That is true. And I think that Sean Murphy was playing hurt last year.
I agree.
And I think that he's going to be 100%. And the reason why they traded him was because they have Drake Baldwin, who is their top-rated catcher down in AAA, ready to come up. And he's not just a guy that can hit the ball. He's also a guy that can throw dudes out. He had the best percentage of throwing runners out in AAA last year. So it's one of those where they're looking to get younger. They're looking to get better. I mean, they did some smart things. They renewed Marcell Ozuna's contract. Oh, here's an interesting thing. There were 4 players that played every single game in baseball last year. 2 of them were on the Braves.
Matt Olson.
And Marcell Ozuna.
Really?
Yep.
That's incredible.
The other ones were Castellanos from Philadelphia and Pete Alonso. They're all in the NL East. But they did go out. I don't think they've made any moves as of yet. But Chris Sale he won the Comeback Player of the Year. He's on the verge of he's going to win the National League Cy Young from what I've been listening and hearing.
How could he not?
There are some rumors that they have talked to Jock Peterson's agent so far, and that they are in right now on Walker Buehler. And I think Jordan Montgomery. And there's one more pitcher I think they were in on as well, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But so they're looking at pitching. And look at it this way, too. It's going to be addition from injury as well when Spencer Strider comes back at the end of April as well. So then you have a dilemma on your hands. Who moves to the bullpen? Who stays in the rotation? Because you have Schwellenbach, you have Sale, you have Lopez. Please do not bring Charlie Morton back.
I think he's I don't know, man. They might do a 1-year deal for a reasonable amount of money. You really can't tell with Alex Anthopoulos. I don't try to get in the man's head. I do hope that he continues to make the right decisions, but I am not joking when I say that I'm going to miss Travis d'Arnaud.
Do you know how many people ripped AA for trading Vaughn Grissom for Chris Sale? And I was one of the ones who told you at work, was like, this is a good deal, because Chris Sale had just come off of Tommy John for 2 years. He struggled with the Red Sox coming back, and I was like, but at the end of that previous year in 23, he looked strong. And they say usually it takes about a year or 2 to come back from Tommy John. The dude was lights out last year. Best off-season move the Braves have made in a while. And I will say that AA hit a home run with that move.
Yeah. Hands down. Probably one of the main reasons we had a winning season was those 3 players, Olson, Ozuna, and Sale.
But I think they have to upgrade a little bit in the bullpen. I think they have to at least go out and get 2 starters.
But what are we going to give up for it? I mean, we've got money.
Oh, free agency. I mean, if they make a trade, for some reason, there's teams out there that want to give up players for the lower-level Braves prospects. That goes to show you how much people love what they do in their player development.
Atlanta is really on another level with recruitment and player talent development.
Now, you look at it this way. Acuna's coming back. Riley's coming back. Albies will be back at 100%, and he was playing lights out at the end of the year. You're going to have a full year, hopefully, Michael Harris. They just have to figure out what's going to happen in left field. And I think what's going to happen is I think Kelnick will be there. I think Laureano will be there, but I think they go out and they get like a Jock Peterson, or they get, another name out there, another veteran, and they're going to rotate all three of those guys out.
I agree. I think that we'll be back on. I mean, there's not very many teams that have consecutively made the playoffs like we have for 3 decades. We had a dry spell in the middle of the 2000s, but really.
From like 2015 to about 2018, it was a rebuild.
Right.
And they went into a hard rebuild, but that's what brought him Max Fried. That's what brought him Acuna. That's what brought him Albies. I mean, they went out and they built players through their farm, and then they went out and they got younger players from other teams, and they built it up. But this is a good way to segue into Max Fried. Max Fried has been in talks with the Braves, but he's also been in talks with the Boston Red Sox.
What?
The Red Sox have made Fried and a couple other people priorities. Also, they had a 4.5-hour meeting with Juan Soto.
Oh, my.
And they brought him in and his agent in, and so they did a presentation, right, on all these Dominican players that have played for the Red Sox, like Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz and Pedro Martinez, and how much they're beloved in Boston. And then they said, look, we want to sign you, and we want to sign a lot more. We have the money now. We're ready to go out and spend. And Soto came out of that, was like, the Red Sox weren't on my list. Now they are.
Oh, wow.
And so they went out, they did that. Now they're talking to Max Fried, and they're willing to give him money.
Well, they should go ahead and give it to him before we do. I don't want us to. I hope they do. I hope y'all do.
What I think is going to happen is I think Max Fried does want to stay in Atlanta, but I think he's going to take another team's contract. And unlike Freddie Freeman, he's going to come back and he's going to say, give me a little bit more and I'll stay with you guys. Because Freddie Freeman actually took less money to go to L.A. than he did to stay in Atlanta because his agent messed that whole thing up.
Yeah, that was an atrocity. I don't want to get talking about that too much. I don't want to get into Freddie Freeman feelings.
As of now, baseball is in its really early stages of off season. The GM meetings usually don't take place until around Thanksgiving. That's usually when some big trades happen or some big signings happen. So until that happens, it's really just this guy talked to this guy, his agent talked to his agent, and so on and so forth. And we kind of have to, just put our ground to the ear to the ground.
That's the one.
And listen for the train to come through.
Yes, sir. Choo choo.
So
I'm going to segue into the Atlanta Hawks there. Now we talked a little off-season baseball. Looking at the Atlanta Hawks, nothing has changed. They've got an impressive basketball player on a team of guys that are not playing as a team consecutively game in and game out. We've had upsets, like we upset the Boston Celtics. Like the things like that are happening.
That was a fever dream is what that was.
Yeah, well, it's on the record.
Yeah.
Listen, did you know that the Atlanta Hawks are once again the best under 500 team in the NBA?
Hey, if you're going to be the best at something, be the best at something.
It's just our motto in Atlanta to strive to be average.
I will say the first-round pick, he put a string of, he had, a week of, games where he was putting up, 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I forget the kid's name, but he was...
I can't say Zach's last name. Rushier, I think.
Yeah, and he was on fire, and he looks good.
He does. He's impressive.
It looks like they nailed that pick. They really did.
I'm okay with it right now. We didn't really... The depth that we have is not impressive. The size we have is not impressive. And the amount of talent we have surrounding that rookie is not impressive
You
yet.
have Trae Young and this rookie, and then that's it. And Trae Young, he plays when he wants to play. And
that's how I really feel about it.
And that's the thing that is horrible about him, because he has all the talent in the world. He has the ability to be a top 5 NBA player, but because of his ego and him being stuck in his own head, he thinks he's better than anybody else on that court at any given time. And the thing is, he has the skill to be better than anybody else on that court, especially at his position.
Agreed. I think that he could always do more. I think he thinks he could always do more. I just think that Trey plays with a little too much emotion. The game has highs and lows, and the guys that stay even kill. Like when they lock in, and you can't tell if they're mad, sad, upset, about to cry, punch you in the face. You can't tell. When they have that stoic look like Jordan has, like Kobe has, when they're locked in, you go back and watch the videos. You can listen to the podcast and people doing the interviews, and they're like, and I knew it at that point when I said what I said, it was over as soon as I made eye contact, because when you see it on the other guy's face.
You know what? Having a talent like Trae Young and the attitude to go along with it, it's like having this huge swimming pool with a big leak in it. You have this big fancy swimming pool, but then you go to it and all the water's gone because it has a big leak.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the point of having it? You know what I'm saying? It's like we have this talent, but what's the point of having him if he's not going to get his act together?
Yeah.
He's not going to listen to coaching. He's not going to take coaching. He's just going to be this problem.
And some people don't see it that way. Some people do. But the matter of fact in my mind is, if you watch the performance when things get hard in the game, when we made that run where we lost the Eastern Conference Finals till Milwaukee, when Giannis went and won the title, in Game 5 and Game 7, when we made any type of run, it was because of the experience on the bench.
Yes.
It was the Lou Williams. It was the older cats keeping everybody calm. And until Trey gets to that point, we're in trouble because we do not have that veteran leadership on that bench.
Was Vince Carter there at that time? No, he came in. He came in like a year or two after that, I think. But
I'm not 100% sure.
I think that's what the Hawks need. They need to take a roster spot on a veteran. Like if they still had an Al Horford or a Vince Carter or somebody like that could help straighten this kid out. That's really what he needs, because coaching's one thing, but if you had this veteran player, like, take him aside and say, "Look, listen, young buck, this isn't you're not going to have a long lifespan in this league if you keep doing it this way. You know, calm down, chill out, be you, but also realize you got 4 other dudes on this court with you that are just as talented as you. And sometimes it clicks with guys and sometimes it doesn't. And I think they just need another veteran to go out there and help make it click with him.
Yeah, that Eastern Conference Finals was 2021.
Okay.
Yep. So Vince was already gone. He was there a couple of years, 19 and 20. So it was the year after he left.
Was Horford back, or was he with the Celtics, I think, at that point?
I think at that point he was with the Celtics.
Because when the Celtics brought in Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart.
No, that's wrong. I take it back. It was 2019.
Okay. But when they brought in, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart, they brought in Al Horford, the Celtics, and he really helped them along and helped them do their thing. And he was that veteran presence that they needed at that time. And that was a smart move by the Celtics to do that.
I was right the first time, 2021.
Okay. But, yeah, so every team needs that veteran presence.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's why some of these coaches who are retired players but young coaches are going to be successful in the modern era. I think the older teams, the old school mentality, didn't want to see a guy that was only 2 or 3 years older than the oldest guy on the team coaching them. Now the mentality's changed. Back then you wanted somebody you could look up to and respect. Mm-hmm. Nowadays you want somebody you can relate to and who can see it through your lens that you can relate to. It's just the new generational culture that we have in professional sports. They want a coach that gets what they're saying. It's changed so much with technology. We grew up with the best of both worlds, you and I, what some people refer to as the Stone Age versus the internet era. And things advance at such a rapid pace now the younger the coach, the more likely the success of the culture building experience is going to be.
Yeah. When did the NBA start lighting up the floor?
I don't know. I think that's a Dallas Mavericks thing.
That looks so stupid.
I don't know. My wife enjoys it. It's how I can get her to watch basketball.
Now I see the Celtics doing that and the green floor, like when they make a shot, and I was like, that is dumb. Let's not do that. Let's not. I mean, it looks like something you go to, like when my parents went to a disco back in the 70s and started dancing on that little lit up floor like they're John Travolta.
Yeah.
It looks dumb. Let's not do that. Next thing you know, baseball is going to start having lit up fields.
God, I hope not. But speaking of lit up, how about them dogs? How about them dogs?
Who?
And in Gainesville, the dogs have knocked off the Florida Gators at the world's largest cocktail party.
Who dat?
Largest outdoor cocktail party, 34-20. Another 2-touchdown victory against a rival and or a ranked opponent. So the resume is starting to look good. We took a L at Ole Miss by 18. It was a really poor performance. I don't spend a lot of time on the Florida game, mainly because we grew up in an era where the Florida game was almost the pinnacle of every season.
Mm-hmm.
It mattered. We had an East and West conference back then, and we're in the East side with Florida, so it typically made the decision of who was going to the SEC championship from Georgia-Florida game. And this year it was not really a big competition. Their starting quarterback went out pretty early. Their backup struggled. We still kind of struggled a little bit at times. Still a 34-20 victory.
They still had the drops. I mean, it was not. I mean, I would call that Florida game pretty much the Cash Jones coming out partying game.
Absolutely, that was fun to watch for him.
And it's just they just play. And you saw it in Ole Miss, too. They were just off. Things just were not clicking the way they were against Texas. You saw it in Florida. You saw it in Ole Miss. Just Florida was just not good enough to take advantage of the mistakes that Georgia made.
That's exactly right. They weren't able to capitalize when we did make mistakes, so it wasn't very competitive.
Yeah, the talent's not there. The difference was Ole Miss came in the way Georgia came in against Texas, prepared.
Yes.
Lane Kiffin had those boys ready to go. And when you mention Ole Miss, you know how one time I asked you about when you had to wake your wife up to go to work one morning and she growled at you?
Yeah.
That's the noise I make when somebody says, "What about that Georgia Ole Miss game?" I just,
yeah, I'm not happy talking about it.
The deep growl. But thing was,
before we put a start off on Ole Miss, I do want to put a bow on Georgia, Florida. Next year will be the last year in Gainesville for a while.
Yeah, I see that. They're renovating the. You mean Jacksonville?
Jacksonville.
They're renovating the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium.
Yep.
So they're going to be playing. It's going to be rotating. I think they're going in Tampa one year. Then they're going to Atlanta the next.
So 2025, we're going to stay in the swamp. 2026, we are going to Atlanta to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. In 2027, we'll be in Tampa at Raymond James Stadium.
Okay.
So moving forward, as you were saying, Georgia, Ole Miss. We're both pretty disgruntled. Don't really want to talk about it. It was a bad showing.
If there is one positive out of that, Jackson Dart did not look good in that game.
He didn't,
and he was even knocked out for
a couple series because it looked like a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, and the game was going really well at the beginning because Georgia was driving down the field, but they had that stupid disease called the drops.
Yeah,
and I mean, when you lose by 18 to an opponent that isn't as talented as you and shouldn't have won, if they're going to beat you, they shouldn't have beat you by 18.
Right.
They should have beaten you by like 3 or 6.
Tops.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they had – Georgia's time of possession was 32, Ole Miss 27, 45 there. Georgia drives of 3 minutes – scoring drives 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and that's it. We spend almost 5.5 minutes at one of the most critical parts in the game where we needed like 4 scores to really win, and it took us 5 minutes to get a field goal. That is the game in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Because they're scoring drives 3.5 minutes, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes, a minute 50.
Yeah, and how many interceptions did Beck throw?
Probably too many. I mean, we had 3 turnovers as a team. He only threw 1 pick. He was 20 for 31, $186, and a pick. No touchdowns. Frazier got in on the ground. 47 yards rushing, though he was our leading rusher. And Dominic Lovett was our leading receiver with 4 catches and 41 yards. It wasn't a good showing.
No.
It was a frustrating loss. We had a player on our team who played high school football with an Ole Miss player, and after the game, he was still in his jersey on the field celebrating with his Ole Miss buddy. That's not a good look. Our coach called him an idiot. Because that was dumb. That was idiotic.
And then
so
what
by
happens
definition,
is Georgia falls from what, 4?
Yeah, at the time we were 3.
3 all the way down to 12, which a lot of people were saying that was pretty harsh on the committee, that they should have been dropped to like 10. But they were dropped to 12, and technically at that point, if the season would have ended, they would have been out of the playoffs.
Yep, because they would have gotten jumped.
SMU would have been in.
Yep.
But what a difference a week makes.
Yep, because, we drop one to Ole Miss and we come home, first home game in 30 days, 37 days.
You were born in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
But you're a Georgia boy, raised in Georgia.
I didn't stay, I was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee at Erlangen Medical Center, and I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks before they could bring me home. When they brought me home to Georgia and to Chickamauga, right by the battlefield. And that's where the war started for me.
Yeah.
My step-grandfather dressed me in that nasty, ugly orange and took baby pictures of me. Those will haunt me for my entire life. I can never make those go away because not only did he do it and they make Polaroids, but at some point one of my family members put them on the internet. And my friend, the internet is forever.
It is. But hey, you know what? Speaking of orange, Georgia is 3-0 against teams that weren't orange. Clemson, Texas, and Tennessee.
And they were all very big wins for us.
Oh, yeah.
Those are decisive victories.
And it's funny because all those oranges kind of look the same.
They really do. I mean, you got a shiny orange, a burnt orange, and an ugly orange.
I mean,
we'll leave it up to y'all which one's which.
One is an orange where it's like, okay, that looks like an orange. Then Texas looks like baby poop orange. Yep. And then the other one, like what Tennessee looks like is when you eat that chili at Steak and Shake, like too much of it and it hurts your stomach and you throw up. That's the color that chili comes out looking like, is that bright, stupid orange Rocky Top color.
Mm-hmm.
It's dumb. It's dumb.
So I did a remote Saturday for WCON with award-winning disc jockey Josh Tanner in Cumming at the Georgia Barbecue Store Classic, and it was a wonderful event. We got some barbecue. Shout out to Anthony Butts and Big Butts Barbecue in Sewanee.
What a great name.
What a great name, right? Retired NFL athlete. We may get an opportunity to talk to him at some point in the future. We'd love to hear that. He was a high school.
Hey, bring your butt up in here and let's talk to you.
And he's a big man, so Big Butts is a perfect brand. He's a big man. Like I said, NFL athlete, retired. Denver Broncos. He also coached high school basketball at Grayson High School, and he was on the football coaching staff as well, so a lot of sports knowledge. He's of the committee and the people on the team trying to build a better tomorrow and help kids, prepare kids better for life. So what I was getting at is during the event, Josh taps me on the shoulder and points, and there is a guy walking by in full-blown checkered, like Tennessee's end zone overalls with an orange undershirt. And he's talking about when they get done eating barbecue, they're going to go to Athens.
Did he have all his teeth to
he
eat barbecue?
Did, and his wife was a nice lady, but she was very thoughtful, very demure. She had the Tennessee earrings on and a gray T-shirt with that ugly T on it, and that was it. There was no outlandish stuff in her hair. She didn't scream at us.
Why is it? It seems like it's bad because there are genuinely nice people from Tennessee.
Absolutely,
it really is. Like,
And they're all volunteer
you can't,
fans,
you
right?
can't say enough about Dolly Parton and the things she does.
That's right.
Especially for kids. But when it comes to that stupid Rocky Top song,
Man.
and when it comes to that stupid Orange, it's like, and here's the thing. I got nervous when everybody on College Game Day picked the Bulldogs to win because they did the opposite in the Texas-Georgia game.
Yes, they did.
And I love Pat McAfee. He starts singing Rocky Top, and then he busts right into, "Can you see who's that coming down the tracks?" Yeah, and it was great. And then Cody Rhodes, who is right now the undisputed WWE champion and the son of legendary WWE Hall of Famer and professional wrestler, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, baby.
Dusty Rhodes.
He picked, and he was born in Marietta, so he's a Georgia boy through and through. And he picked the Bulldogs, and Kirby Smart said that he had a poster of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, in his room when he was a kid.
Sure did.
And it inspired him to be a head coach.
That's awesome.
And another interesting Kirby Smart fact, he picked off Peyton Manning
I did.
when he was a corner for Georgia.
And Peyton was at Tennessee. Yes, sir.
Getting into this game, this is the most complete that this Georgia team has looked since week 1. This is the best that they've looked all year. They looked better in this game than they did against Clemson because the slow start they got off to really technically wasn't a slow start. It was more of a defensive slow start, but it felt like they were driving, but they would have a drop or they'd have some stupid penalty, and then all of a sudden it clicked.
Yes.
And then the Georgia defense came out. They started hitting hard. Like, you're going to catch the ball, but you're going to regret it. And Everett, he's just doing Everett things. And there was one where a Tennessee guy went up for a catch and got smashed. But these receivers were doing everything they could. After a few drops, first couple series after a few drops, they were doing everything they could to catch the ball. The Humphreys catch that set up Nate Frazier's touchdown was incredible.
All 3 tight ends, Delp, Urasek, and Lucky, all had catches for over 20 yards.
And a couple weeks ago, we released our show with Texas, and we were talking about Delp. We need to get Oscar Delp more involved. We need to get him more involved. And guess what?
4 catches for 56 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And those 2 touchdowns, they looked identical.
Yeah.
One was from 19 yards out, and I think the other one was from 6 or 7 yards out. I'm not sure, but they were both in the same spot at the same place. And it's just it was great. And Carson Beck did not throw an interception, did not have a turnover. He looked sharp. And this is what happened when you give him the confidence. When you start catching some balls and giving him the confidence, what does he do? He tucks it and runs. And there is one run where he runs and he just, instead of diving, he dives right into a Tennessee guy, and you just hear the whole entire stadium go, ooh. And all the offside penalties that Tennessee got? Because 110 decibels. 110 decibels that stadium got to.
It gets loud when we play Tennessee. I was there 2 years ago, 2022 title, the TCU title. Adam Arrowood and I went. Shout out, Adam. And it rained, and it was kind of like this year. It was kind of nasty out. You know, it was not favorable weather by any means.
It was a little cool.
It looked misty. It was uncomfortable with those fans. Man, did the Dog fans show up when we needed them most. And think about it. When's the last time Carson Beck was the second leading rusher on the team? I don't know if he ever has been.
Carson Beck's stat line, 25 of 40 for 347 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interception. That's a 98 QB rating. Rushing, 3 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown. That's a 10.7 average. So pretty much 11 yards a game is what he was averaging. And they didn't have their number 1 running back.
Or their number 2 running back.
Or their number 2.
Or their number 3 running back.
Because Robinson's out.
Yep.
ETN's out. And they had someone else is out. The other Robinson.
Yep.
The other Robinson's out too. So Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens were your running backs.
Yeah, and who is Bowens? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a freshman.
Yeah, let's see. Running backs on the roster. Bowens played, freshman. Etienne out. Frazier played, freshman. Hardy, sophomore. I guess out. Hurst out. Cash Jones out. Brandon Mathis out. And I don't know about Wade Penns and Dwight Phillips Jr.
So,
Branson Robinson out and Roderick Robinson.
Yep.
So Roderick and Branson are both out.
And Roderick's been out almost all year.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with pretty much your last two running backs in your stable. And they still rushed for 106 yards altogether.
Yeah, and I mean, it was nice to finally see Carson pull the RPO and take it himself. Teams are not respecting him. He hasn't pulled it all year.
And good job by Bobo on the play calling this year, or in this game.
Yeah, it led Kirby to give him a compliment at the end of the game, which blew my mind. But here's something else that I do want people out there to understand. Carson Beck still has the Georgia Bulldogs in 11th in passing yards per game in average. Like, the people out there that are bashing him, he has made some bad decisions. He has had a lot of passes dropped. We lead college football
30.
in drop pass.
30 now.
Lead the league,
Yep.
man. Out of all, 100.
And we were talking about how frustrating it is because we saw the talent. Well, what happens is Humphreys makes that catch, but your leading receiver is Ben Urasek with 5 receptions for 51 yards. Oscar Delp had 4 for 56 with 2 touchdowns. Humphreys was your leading wide receiver with 3 receptions for 63 yards. I mean, Arian Smith went 3 for 50. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different guys caught a pass from Carson Beck. And let's talk about the young guy, Nitro Tuggle.
Wow.
This kid he's 6'1", 190 pounds. He can absolutely fly. And some of the catches so after a couple drops, they bring this kid in and he makes a catch right off the bat. And after that, it was just like, oh, wait a minute. We need to make some catches because this young buck's coming in here and he's showing us up. And then after that, it was like boom, 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 boom. Everybody was catching the ball. You know, they did not drop a pass in the second half of this game.
Really?
That is the first time that's ever happened. There were incomplete passes,
Yeah.
but there was not a wide receiver drop in the second half of this game. They did not let Tennessee score in the second half of this game. And keep in mind, the defense still had 5 sacks in this game. They still had 6 tackles for loss. Smile Munden, he showed up. 8 tackles, a sack, a tackle for loss, and a pat down.
Wow.
KJ Bolden had 8 tackles. Jalen Walker, 8 tackles and a sack. Chaz Chambliss, who, did you see that they lined him up at fullback?
That was awesome.
That was great.
It even fooled the announcers.
Yeah,
they thought it was Cash Jones.
They thought it was Cash Jones.
He's out injured.
And they're like, but he's out injured. And,
Yeah.
and it was Chaz Chambliss.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That just shows the fight in that dog. Like, hey, Chaz, you know how you hit people on defense? Could you line up in a squatted position and do that on offense?
I would love for them to hand the ball off to him.
Oh, man.
Just do what the Bears used to do with William Perry.
Him or Dan Jackson.
Yeah.
I love to watch those guys hit people. It's my favorite
Or
thing.
how about put Jalen Walker in there at fullback and hand
I'm
him
cool
the
with
ball
that, too.
and just let him carry some dudes.
Yep. I mean, just the pop that Chambliss got on the linebacker when he came through that hole.
He opened the hole up for
Yeah.
Frazier to run in for the touchdown.
It's hard to believe at home that they're prepared for that. You know what I mean? They are practicing, and it's a next man up mentality to the point where your starting rover outside linebacker is lined up at fullback and crushing their outside linebacker.
They did something crazy in practice, from what I understand. You know that quarterback they got from Arizona State, who is a RPO quarterback?
Yep.
So his traits are similar to the I'm gonna leave
Yeah.
quarterback for Tennessee.
Yeah.
They're very similar, same height, same build, same RPO
Nice.
type. They were using him in practice to take the place of I'm gonna leave you,
Yeah.
and because that's how you say his name. That's how it's spelled. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But he was the quarterback. He was the practice quarterback for them, and it worked. It worked because you saw them. They cut the lanes down for him. Now Tennessee came out doing something really smart to open up the game. When they first got their first offensive possession, they went no huddle. And it was boom, 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 boom. And it was just like you could see Georgia's defense was getting tired. But when Georgia started moving around like they did against Texas with the no huddle and started changing things up the last minute, they're like, we can't do this no huddle anymore. Now they have an answer for it.
Right.
And so then they started disguising their blitz coverage again, and I'm going to leave you is all confused.
Yeah.
And they come out in the second half. They did not make an adjustment. They came out thinking that they could do the same thing that they were doing in the first half and expect Georgia to be able to run it the same way they did in the first half. Nope. And Georgia's what now, 29-0 at home? 28-0 at home?
29.
And they've won 8 straight against Tennessee now?
Yep.
So Tennessee has to come up with an answer for Georgia. Georgia don't need to come up with an answer for Tennessee. They've already figured it out.
We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia.
No. And if you come in and play between the hedges, you better come ready because Georgia's mad. And you know what? I don't want them to play in the SEC championship. You know
I don't either.
Because then they get that 5 to 8 slot. If they play in the SEC championship and win, they're guaranteed a 1 through 4. I'd rather them get 5 through 8 and play a weaker team and move into the next round.
Yeah, I do too. Then get the bye. Byes are dangerous.
And everybody's all upset about, they're going to play in the SEC championship. No, I hope they don't.
I don't think they will. I mean, looking at the rankings, Georgia's
Texas
third.
and Texas A&M play each other next week.
Yeah.
And so one of those teams are going to go in, regardless of who wins or loses. And I think, Alabama's the next team up?
No, we are.
Oh, we are?
Yeah. The rankings and the SEC currently are Texas A&M,
Oh, that's
Georgia,
right. Yeah.
Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss.
But, even if you lose the SEC championship and you're a 3-loss team, I still think you're going in.
I don't.
But
I think if the loser of the SEC championship is Texas or Texas A&M, I think no. If the loser of the SEC championship is Texas, they get in. I think anybody else loses, they're
Texas A&M can lose this game and still go into the SEC championship.
Yeah,
and that's what they were saying on Saturday night. So no matter if Texas A&M wins or loses, both these teams are going to meet each other again. So
I've got my money on A&M at home in the last game of the season to make or break for your season. Really, at that point, because if you lose to Texas, it's your third loss of the season. It's your second SEC loss. So you're probably not going to the chip, and you haven't been respected in the polls all season. You're not a top 15 team yet. So if you lose to Texas, even in a fashionable loss, where they punch, you punch back, and it comes down to the wire, I still think that if they don't beat Texas, they're out of the playoff.
If they beat Texas, Texas is done because Georgia holds the tiebreaker over them.
Yep.
And I think Texas A&M can beat Texas. I don't think that Texas is as dangerous as people made them out to be. I think that Georgia came in and proved that. They struggled against Vandy. They struggled against they struggled this past week. And they've had some games where they've struggled. They haven't dominated people since they played Georgia, really. It's really a crazy thing to see because I expected more out of them. They beat Arkansas by 10. They beat them 20-10.
They whipped Florida, though.
Yeah, they did whip Florida. They did.
And that Arkansas game was a lot closer. It was 13-10 for a long time.
Yeah. So I mean, but other than Florida, since they've played Georgia, they've struggled in some games.
And now they're going to host Kentucky, who has put everybody on upset alert this season. And then they have to go to A&M and face the 12th man. But, before they ran into us, they played Colorado State, man, 52-0. They played Michigan, who we've seen is not the Michigan of last year. They're dismantled in the coaching office. They're dismantled on the bench. The starters are gone. Michigan's not the same team, so that's not impressive either. A 31-12 victory at Michigan is really not that impressive at this point in the season. Then they play their cupcake game, followed by another cupcake. They got UTSA, followed by UL Monroe. They beat them by a combined score of 107-10. Then Mississippi State, they win 35-13. Oklahoma 30-43. That's a rivalry game. That's kind of a big deal. Oklahoma's ranked 18th at the time, and then they host Georgia. So they're on a high. They're averaging beating people by 30-plus points. And then we come in and beat them by 2 touchdowns. The very next week, they go to Nashville and beat Vanderbilt by 3. Then they come back home and slap the taste out of Florida's mouth, 49-17. Then they go to Arkansas and get themselves in a dogfight, which was probably really good for Texas in their experience, bad for us if we have to play them again. Now they got a little more scrap in them, and then they're going to host Kentucky and go to A&M. So Texas has got a really good shot making the playoff and the SEC championship at this rate.
You just have to be Texas A&M fans.
Yeah.
Or Kentucky fans.
That sucks.
Next week, Georgia has I hate to call it a cupcake game, but it is. They play UMass.
Yeah.
I would like to see Gunner.
I would too.
Get into that game.
Speaking of Gunner, for the season, at the times that he has come in, he is 10 for 12 for 90 yards. That's very efficient.
That is.
But
he is more of an RPO quarterback than Carson Beck is.
And he is built like a brick house.
Yep.
Like Carson, you're thin and lanky and kind of remind me of
goofy looking.
Kind of remind me of a Peyton Manning in college, before he started really pounding the Bud Lights.
I'm Peyton. Peyton.
Did you say Peyton or Peyton?
Peyton.
Oh. Good job, Mr. Manning. So as of the day before the release, this is what we're looking at. Number 1, Oregon. They are undefeated, they beat Ohio State. They have really no challenges left on their schedule, and they have already punched their ticket to their conference championship. Then ranked at 2 is Ohio State for no other reason than the people on the committee
Ohio
think.
State this week has a tough game. They play number 5 Indiana.
It's a big deal.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that Ohio State loses at home because that will really take them down.
And if Indiana wins, man, they've already been a great story. But
yeah.
Wouldn't it be awesome if they're like number 3?
And
2?
I think that the Big Ten, is it the Big Ten or the Big 12?
Big 12 now.
Big 12 should get more credit this year because not only does the SEC have a lot of highly ranked teams, so do they this year.
Yep.
Because you've got Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and Indiana up there. And then you've got Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss kind of rounding it out.
Number 3, Texas is playing Kentucky.
Yep, at home.
Number 4, Penn State's playing a 6-4 Minnesota at Minnesota. Number 5. Who's 5?
Indiana, and they're going to the big house.
And
no, that's not what they call that. What do they call it? The shoe? What do they call it? Ohio State's stadium. Somebody's screaming at their computer screen right now.
The House of Crap? The House of Day.
Yeah, anybody that knows me knows that I cannot stand
do you
Day.
think
It's just Ohio State.
Do you think Ryan Day eats corn the long way?
Oh, of course. That's why I don't like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole premise of my argument is that he takes corn the long way.
And I bet he eats a Hot Pocket from the middle.
Yeah, because there's something wrong with that man.
Because he's too much of a wuss to get burned by that hot ham coming out of that Hot Pocket.
I'm telling you what. But Indiana's got to go to Ohio State, the Ohio State, and play football.
The big house is Michigan, I think.
That is correct. Yes, sir. So Indiana travels to 2 Ohio State, which these rankings may have changed by the time this episode releases.
So then number 6 BYU plays 8-2 Arizona State.
And that's going to change because BYU just dropped their first game of the season at home against Kansas.
Yep.
You want to talk about a well-coached group. Kansas came in prepared for that game. That was fun to watch.
Yep. And we talked about Kansas in our NCAA football opener.
Yes, we did.
I believe as a team to watch.
Yeah, they put people on upset alert because they have a very athletic offense.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is nothing to write home about, but they shut down BYU.
The former number 7, Tennessee, is playing UTEP, but they're probably not going to be number 7. Number 8, Notre Dame, plays a number 24, 9-0 Army team, which they've already defeated one undefeated service academy that came in, Navy. They'll probably do it again because Notre Dame, I watched bits and pieces of that game this past week against Virginia, and they curb stomped Virginia. I mean, they straight up dominated them on both sides of the ball. Number 9 is who's number 9?
Alabama?
They're 10. Alabama plays Oklahoma. And number 10, Alabama plays Oklahoma this week. Number 9 is Miami, and they play Wake Forest. Number 11 is Ole Miss, and they play Florida. And number 12, who's the 12th ranked team? Let's see here. Number 12 is, Georgia, and they play UMass. But right outside of the top 12 teams that could move up, SMU's number 14, and they play Virginia next week. And they came off a big win this week. How about Colorado? Right now they're at number 17, but they're probably going to move up and be in the top 15 this week, I would think. They're going to be right outside that top 12, knocking on that door.
Okay, now I finally found the updated AP and coaches poll. I was so confused at what you were looking at. Now I'm on the same page. Boise State scares me.
Yep.
Their only loss all season was a 3-point loss to Oregon at Oregon. Like, are you kidding me? Of course, they haven't played really anybody.
You know, your Colorado team that you're a fan of scares me.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Colorado this season. They're starting to put it together.
How about the no respect from Texas A&M, like you're talking about? Number 15, Texas A&M. It's and they play Auburn this week. It's like, come on.
Yeah, they they beat Florida by 2 touchdowns. They beat Arkansas by 2 possessions. 21-17. They beat Missouri 41-10, who was ranked 9th at the time. I might add, they were a top 10 team. Since losing to South Carolina on the road,
they demoralized that Missouri team.
And then they beat LSU by 2 touchdowns.
I think Brian Kelly's done after this year.
I do too,
man. He just got into an argument with 2 wide receivers on the sideline. Come on.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of him.
Dude,
I don't like his style.
You made a mistake when you left Notre Dame. You made a mistake, and you took the money and ran, and you built up Notre Dame, and now Coach Freeman, kudos to you at Notre Dame. You're doing awesome things. But Brian Kelly, I don't like him for the way he just up and left Notre Dame with nothing. It was like, hey, thanks, but bye. And then he trashes the whole program by saying I couldn't recruit because of the academic standard and all this. But dude, you played in a national championship. Like,
got hammered.
You got hammered, but you still made it there. Yeah. You still played in one. You know,
he got not only was Notre Dame never stood a chance physically.
Yeah,
they also never stood a chance because of who they were playing.
Well, and if your star defensive player didn't get catfished,
messed his head up.
And messed his head up, he would have played a lot better in that game. But anyways,
I feel like if I'd have told somebody, hey, 10 weeks into the season, Colorado's going to be ranked higher than Clemson, they'd have laughed at me. But who's laughing now, guys? Because Colorado's ranked 16th and Clemson 17th, depending on what poll you're looking at.
And I don't think Deion Sanders is going to be the Colorado coach after this year. I really don't. I think he's going to move on to greener pastures. I don't think he's going to be in the NFL. I think he's going to be a college coach somewhere. But
I think he goes to the SEC. I think he ends up in somewhere that's got some culture in the South.
LSU.
You think he'll go to LSU?
If Brian Kelly gets fired, I mean, LSU's going to throw some money at him.
Here's my thing. I think Georgia Tech is doing great. They got a great coach. I don't know if he's a 30-year coach or a transition coach.
He's in the ACC, though, bro.
I don't care.
Oh, wait a minute. How about you think he'd go to his alma mater?
Yeah, I do.
FSU?
I do. That's what I'm saying. I think Deion either goes back to FSU or they find room for him in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because now with the transfer portal and all the things that can happen at Georgia Tech and the potential, he wanted to go to Georgia Tech in the first place because he wanted to be in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But that school had no swag.
He still lives here, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they live full time in Colorado now.
But
if you watch the,
I guess to put a bow, a big ribbon on this show, there's still a lot to go on. As we reach the holidays, we come to the pinnacle of the end of the season, going into the playoffs. So there's going to be a lot to watch. There's going to be a lot to watch in the off-season baseball. NFL still going strong. We still have over, a month?
Yep.
Over a month of games, so another 5 or 6 weeks of NFL season. We still have a whole season of NBA coming up, so keep an eye on that. And I think the Atlanta United are playing right now, aren't they?
Yeah, that sounds like something I was really unprepared to talk about.
Yeah, me too. I do know that NASCAR wrapped up.
Oh, yeah?
And Joey Logano is their champion. I did see that the other day.
Go Logano.
Yeah. So, and Italian wins in NASCAR. So anything else to put a bow on this show, Jay?
Just a quick rundown for the Atlanta United 2024-2025 season. They have finished.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What? I'm so confused.
Oops.
I don't know enough about soccer. We're gonna get better at that.
How about these common names in soccer? Like they're all like United or Club or something like that. It's like, man.
Okay, no, we're still in the regular MLS season. Okay. The way that the schedule was on ESPN just really confused me. Coming up Sunday, November 24th, the Atlanta United will be hosting Orlando City. 3:30. You can find that on MLS Season Pass. I doubt you can find it anywhere else. Good luck. If you get to watch the Atlanta United somewhere on TV, guys, shoot us a message because I'd love to see that. I don't have the right stuff.
I heard going to the games is spectacular.
I
hear it's a great environment, but I've never been. I've only really watched soccer if it's like the FIFA World Cup or something like that, But other than that, the Olympics, I've watched it a couple of times. But other than that, man, it's hard. It's hard sometimes to get through a soccer match. Sorry, not a game; it's a match. It's hard to get through it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, we will get better at it. We'll get better at trying to cover as much as we possibly can. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up. A lot of stuff that we're gonna talk about and update. We got some more episodes coming your way. We got some other surprises for you. I'm going to start calling basketball games with Jay here at the Habersham Broadcasting Company.
That's a brilliant segue into 107.7 The Breeze, your home of the Raiders and Leopards, Habersham Central and Banks County basketball. This past Saturday, the Habersham Central Raiders men's varsity team took on the defending state champions in North Oconee High School. The Titans came in on a 19-game winning streak. Habersham Central had a spectacular fourth quarter. They only led by more than 1 point twice in the whole game. Once the final seconds were on the clock, North Oconee led by 3 as Enzo Combs found Judge Will Banks in the corner for a buzzer-beater 3 to send it into overtime. As time expired in the first overtime, Enzo Combs drives to the basket and misses a layup, very acrobatic layup, I might add, but the tip from Judge Will Banks again sends us into overtime. Another 4 minutes of free basketball, and the Raiders just kept chipping away, and North Oconee played too aggressive. They're 3 out of their starting 5 fouled out of the game, and they did not have the size and experience to compete with the Raiders at this point. And with a tied game, 75-75, with 6 seconds on the clock, Enzo Combs took a solo drive to the basket, and with 3 defenders draped all over him, did a 360 underneath cradle reverse layup that went in with 1.1 seconds left on the clock, and all North Oconee could do was throw a cross-court pass, which they missed, and Habersham Central goes on to win 77-75 to start the season 2-0.
Do you know what would happen if you and I did a 360 reverse cradle?
Oh, it would be Sports Center, baby.
I wouldn't be able to move the next morning.
Oh man, you meant at our age.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about the literal
But
consequences.
they changed the title of that movie now from Remember the Titans to forget about the Titans. Forget about them.
So if you are local in Northeast Georgia, you can tune in to 107.7 The Breeze and check out Habersham Central and Banks County High School basketball all winter long. If you are not local and you'd like to hear us call high school sports on the radio, 107.7 The Breeze has an app. We have featured on there what is on the air now. We have a live button you click on. Listen to the easy, laid-back, contemporary rock and roll sounds of The Breeze or us calling high school basketball. You'll also be able to find David Foster there. He calls some games as well. Some of you may know that name from Friday Night Lights. David is the voice of the Raiders on 99.3 My Country, WCON. And they are our parent sponsor here at It's Just the Show, and we'd like to thank them and all of our listeners for coming in and listening to the episode here as we did another fall sports update. Cory, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think we covered it all, but I just want to say that man, I love this time of year.
Yeah, it really is great. Guys, just remember it's not always about winning and losing, but here it's always about how you podcast it.